That's the kind of shit where I think, like, basically college is a scam, and the way that we all live our lives is misguided and stupid, and we're all fucking doomed to fail. Anyway, you ready to start this thing?
I am ready to start this thing. I am ready.
Nice.
Let me take a swig of water. Gulpy gulp. Do you think the word guppy comes from the word gulp?
Yeah, the when they were naming the fish, they were like, so we can clearly see that it consumes water by gupping, and it was he misspoke. He meant to say gulping, and everybody was like, and he's like, actually, it's a guppy, motherfucker, and we don't know how it drinks water. Just to save face, you know? It's the ego of man causing the downfall of our species.
Keep this part in. Keep this part in.
I'll just
Hello,
start
everyone.
Oh, I fucked it all up. Anyway, go ahead.
You're good. You're good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 96 of the Homegames podcast. I'm Yazeed, and this is Joseph.
Hello, I am Joseph, and we are coming in hot today. I don't even know what's going on, but it's Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. Today we are going to be talking about some progress I made on the views stuff I've been talking about for the past couple episodes. Basically just some thoughts on where it's going and some reflection on the mistakes I've made up to this point. And then Yazeed had some progress on his updates to Squish and Homegames Web.
Would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, for some context, the stuff I've been talking about for the past couple episodes is this idea for building a game where essentially you define a world or a grid or a plane or whatever you want to call it, but essentially a 2D base map or something. And you kind of build entities on top of it. And the way that you show that thing to players is via these views, where a view is essentially, another kind of subgrid or a subset of that initial plane. And basically getting those views to render into a screen for a player and having them interact with it and kind of building this new interface. So basically, when I first started thinking about it, I was kind of overwhelmed by how hard that would be. And so I started overthinking it and thinking about the optimization and like how to make it fast before how to make it work, which is kind of a common thing for me. I mostly because that's fun for me. I like the make it fast stuff more than the make it work. But anyway, I was thinking about how to build efficient indexes and how to get constant retrieval time for any point in the plane and all this kind of stuff before thinking about how to make it work. What does that interface look like? Why am I doing it? What's the benefit of it? And that kind of stuff. So basically at this point now I have kind of a redone version of that where I can, like I said, define a base plane and say, here's a 500 by 500 grid, and here's a red square in the top left, and here's a blue square in the top right. And I have a 50 by 50 view kind of in the center of this plane, and therefore I can't see anything, right? If I move up and to the left, I see the red square. If I move down and to the right, I see a blue square. And the way I actually did that is pretty simple, just traversal of the game tree and our should collide or our collision utility that we've used for a few things before. So the collision utility is basically, if I have a node defined at this position with this size and another node at this position at this size, do some math to find out if they're touching, if they're intersecting, or if they're touching in any way. And if they are, do something. Make it so I can't move in that direction because there's something blocking me, or make it so one node takes damage or something like that, right? But all that math is just do these two polygons intersect, which is exactly what I need for the view. Because if you think about it, the view itself is a polygon. Like I said, it's like a subgrid. It's your phone screen is the filter, or your computer screen is like the polygon filter on top of like the base thing, right? Like this world exists behind your screen and you're kind of just viewing it within this sub shape. So that's just go through the game tree and everything that collides with this view, give it back. Right? Like on a simple level, like does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So that works. Like I have it working to the point where, I can, like I said, define a view in the center and say, hey, what do I see? And it returns nothing. If I were to define that view as being in the top left where that red square is, it's like, hey, there's a red square here. So I kind of have the first half of this feature done, or this specific type of plane type view thing implemented. I think the more tricky part is going to be the next thing, which is shifting all of the things within that view to look correct in your view. Does that make sense? So
what do you mean by shifting in this regard?
So if I look in that top left and I see a red square, and the game engine can say, there's a red square in this thing that you're looking at, and here are its coordinates and here is its size. That doesn't help me yet because I don't know what it looks like to me, right? Like if my view is only a piece of that red square, knowing its full height and full width and its full position, I still don't know which part of it I'm seeing. So I actually need to kind of take this view and kind of shift everything so the top left is like the new 0, 0, and I kind of slice into the data that's there and give a subset of the shapes that are there. Right? So if you kind of think of if I'm going down kind of like one Y element at a time, and I'm kind of scrolling down or scrolling to one of these boxes, you see nothing, 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 and then you move up or down or whatever, and you see the corner of the square. And then you keep moving, and you see more and more and more of the square. Each of those, I'm taking the base thing, which is this square is in this position, and I'm saying, well, actually, they only see 2 blocks of it, or 3 blocks of it, or this thing of it, because you're only looking at a piece. So that, I think, is the more interesting math, and it'll probably be trickier, but at a certain point, it's just kind of like everything else, right? Like, you figure out the fundamental math thing that you got to do when you just apply it to everything. So one of these nights I'll have some of my special brownie recipe that I love. It makes me very good at math, and I'll do some of that cool math that you love that has no comments, and it's all just like written by a madman and there's too many parentheses, but it fucking works. So that you're gonna get some more of that, and hopefully not so messy, but basically that's the idea. And I just got to finish making progress on that. And then at that point, like I've said before, it's really just implementing the design I have for that new dashboard stuff, which I've talked about, which will use this new view interface, which I think will make everything a lot easier. And I've got a vacation coming up in a couple weeks, so I'm gonna do at this point like my annual event of going hard as fuck just after Christmas and just before New Year's, and like blacking out and having thousands of lines of code at the end of it. I'm very much looking forward to doing that again because I haven't touched Homegames code in a while.
So let's backtrack a little bit because
Sure.
I did have a question on it. So I think I understand what you mean with the like views stuff, but you know how let me give you an example of how I'm thinking of it, and you tell me if it's right or not. So you know how like when you have like a really huge image on your computer screen, right? Like I'm talking like ultra high res definition of like the stars or whatever, and you can only see one portion on your screen, and you have like a vertical scroll bar and a horizontal scroll bar, and like as you scroll right or left, it just like gives you like that snippet of the picture basically. Okay, so that's more or less like what, like conceptually how yours is going to work then.
Yes. At the moment, I have it so at any point within that scrolly thing, I can say, hey, there's a picture here. Like there's a picture behind what you're looking at. But I need to get the part that only shows you the part that you're looking at. If that makes sense.
I see. I feel like that's going to be difficult with assets then, isn't it?
With an asset, it's so the underlying thing of an asset is mostly just image. Well, it's just images at this point. We also do audio, but that's kind of different. It's the same thing. It's still just a 2D XY. Typically, the asset has underlying coordinates that match the image that it has, but that's not always required. So basically, like if I have a game node that has an image on it and I want to make it so you can click on the image and something happens, I can define the coordinates of that node to be whatever I want, and it could match the image exactly. So I hover over the image and I get something, but I could also make it smaller if I wanted to just have a piece of the image clicked or anything like that. But it's still the same fundamental problem of just like I need to shift over this thing. Am I looking at it? If I am, which piece of it am I looking at based on my view?
Okay, I see. And is the view kind of like the subset of things that are going to go to the web client to display, basically? Like, is that what the client is going to get to render, or are they going to get like the whole thing and the view is something that they're going to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way I'm currently thinking of it is that the game server will do that shifted math and basically give a transformed subtree to each player depending on their view. If the game is using views, it could still use the old shit that we have and everything would still work the same way it does. But you could also opt into this thing, which we would be doing that transformation on the game server. So the client would still just do what it does now, which is just take it and render it, take it and render it.
Okay, I see. Do you think that, like, I guess, do you think it would be beneficial to have like one view square around what people are looking at, just for like efficiency's sake, or do you think it'd be better to just render on the fly because we don't really know what they want to look at?
One view square that they're looking at.
So like if they were looking at like the center, then we have like one block above, one block to the diagonal, one block down, diagonal down, up. You know what I mean? Like, basically, like if they're in the center, it's like the whole grid around, like making like constructing like a grid of views around them, basically.
So I have I'm looking at the center of the screen or the whatever, and there's other potential points for me to move the view to outside of where it is. These like 8, whatever, diagonal left, diagonal right, whatever.
Yeah.
These 8 possible directions. And you're saying to like cache those views, or like what's the...
Yeah, to like give them to the clients that if they do scroll, it doesn't have to wait to go back to the server. It can just render stuff and then ask the server so the server can update whatever needs to update.
So yeah, we could do that, I guess, if we wanted to... If we wanted to offload that stuff from the game server and let the clients kind of slice into it however they wanted to. In that case, we would return the entire game tree, and then the view calculation stuff would be on the client, right? Where it just knows what piece of it needs to look at, but it's getting everything. And right, is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess what I'm not saying to do this. I'm asking if there's a benefit to doing it, I guess. Like, in my head, the way it would work is like it has like a cached version based on the current view, right? It has all of the information about the current view, and then the squares around it, right? And then as you move, it renders the version of the square that it has, but it still asks the server for like it's like, hey, I moved to this square, can you give me the information? Because then it gives you like the cache of squares around that. I don't know if that's really a benefit for it, but it would be faster rendering, I think. Like, faster immediate rendering, even though that rendering may be incorrect given the like current state, if that makes sense.
You could basically have a stale cache that you're returning to. Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably implement like that, something like that, if we had a scenario where a game didn't update much. Like if an example would be the Homegames dashboard. These things are all pre-calculated. It's not like a dynamic game, and these things aren't moving around, being clicked and interacted with other players. So in that case, maybe it makes sense to have pre-cached views of these things because the view won't change. But I mean, it kind of seems like it would be like one of those optimizations that you make when you run into the problem, I guess. And in a general sense, the risk of having stale data coming back would... And whatever system that we implement to kind of have all that cache would probably add more complexity than it's worth at the moment, at least. Just managing, kind of splitting up the idea, because one of the central ideas of Homegames is like, okay, this is the source of truth on the game server. There's one thread running one game on one instance of a server, giving everybody the data. You're all synced up in the game brain, even if your client is wherever it is. So introducing a thing, even if it's ultimately better for performance, to like kind of complexify that and, just add potential for more fuck ups because I'm prone to fuck ups. It just seems like a later us problem.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Also, I will point out that you use the word complexify instead of complicate, which I just think is really funny.
I'm my own man, live different. That's what I always say.
But yeah, that makes sense. I was just asking. I don't know. I wasn't really sure if that would even be a good idea. I was just throwing that out there as a possibility. I kind of agree with you though. That seems like even if we were gonna do it, probably do it a lot later or never, because that's crazy. When I said that question while you were answering, I also thought about the possibility of like it is a game that's super dynamic, and like I was thinking of like color tag, where like you can't see what's happening over there, but like people are moving around. So when you jump there, you use like your cache version. They're just like stationary at that point. The server updates, they move like 100 units to the left or whatever. Like that'd be kind of jank. So
yeah, especially if we have it. Like if we can make the core things so good and so fast that you wouldn't even need to optimize that would be great. I mean, I don't know if we could really even do that realistically, but it just seems like hopefully we never have to solve that problem. Hopefully it's never a problem. Which is, obviously a fucking hand-wavy bullshit way of saying I don't want to think about that problem because of course we're going to have that problem.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay, so there was that. And then what else did you say? Sorry.
No, I mean that's really it. Is that's just how I'm thinking of the thing. The collision library is kind of the core of everything, and that math I hope is right in my testing. It's been pretty good. Like I said, trying to make it efficient and all that kind of stuff, I think is one of my downfalls as a person, because I think I should just get it working. So like I said, I'm just gonna make a lot of coffee, go through a lot of caffeine and whatever else after the 20th, and I'm on vacation, just like going hard as fuck, and then come back like at the beginning of the new year with hopefully some cool stuff, and it'll work. I'm just trying to get it to work, and I have to keep reminding myself that I just need to make it work.
Question about scheduling the next episode then. Would we record the next episode like the 25th? Or I don't know if that's Christmas or not, honestly.
That is Christmas. I haven't thought about the next episode much. Let me see.
Okay, because I'm actually out the 26th to the 29th.
Oh, yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing anything after Christmas. We could do because we want to do our Spotify wrapped year wrap thing, so we could do it basically anytime after the 18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to 19th or something. We'll figure it out.
Well, no, because the next episode's the 22nd anyway, so we're gonna have to record that by the latest on right? Am I on drugs?
This week.
Today is December 7th.
Next week. Yeah, you're right. It would come out on the 22nd. You're right. We're recording one more. My bad. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, then 100 is like the end of January. So that'll be a fun one. We should have something for that.
Yeah, we should have something planned for that one.
Yeah, we should plan one of these for once instead of doing scheduling on the fucking podcast. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. On my side of things, for the most part, I mean, it's just continuing putting together the new TypeScriptified and modified version of the Squish with the new-ish the new in progress version of Homegames Web, basically.
Wait, is Squish TypeScriptified yet? I forget. I thought we undid that, and it's just like the new changes and shit to Squish.
No, I think that it is TypeScriptified. Am I wrong on that?
Because I reverted that because it busted a bunch of shit.
Oh, no.
We're not organized.
No.
But anyway, you're
no, because you have a PR called Exhume TypeScript, I think. Why am I not logged in on GitHub? I can't look at it right now. But
and then I thought we merged it, and then
yeah, and then you reverted it, and then we merged it back in. I don't know, but basically I'm putting it on TypeScript, so it's on the Homegames Web will be on TypeScript, and then I'm using, I guess, an old version of Squish.
Well, I thought that was what we said.
Because the reason sorry, go ahead.
I thought we said we were gonna hold off on TypeScript until we rewrote Squisher in Squish. and then we were going to TypeScriptify that, and then TypeScriptify Homegames Web, and then TypeScriptify Homegames Core, because Homegames Core and Homegames Web depend on Squish, and the Squish TypeScript stuff, when I tried to bring it into the other packages, busted it. So then that's when I reverted it, and then. So I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but if you could get something working at the end of it, that would be awesome. If it has TypeScript.
Yeah, the idea for me was to get it on TypeScript. So I thought that so basically like I had converted web to TypeScript and then cleaned it up a little bit and like moved some stuff into like helper files and helper functions that was like repeated logic. There's like that kind of stuff. And then I grabbed what I thought was the most up-to-date version of Squish, but it might not have been the most up-to-date version of Squish now because I don't remember. And I was using that to compare the two. Basically, I had replaced what's in Node modules as the version of like latest Squish that's being used as what I was comparing it to, so that I could run it on my local without having to worry about what's in NPM or GitHub. How about we do that? Okay,
well, we should figure all this shit out eventually, but last time I checked bringing all these together, none of it worked, so I reverted a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Part of the reason that it wasn't working was because the changes to Squish the changes to Squish on the TypeScript did make some modifications that the web wouldn't support at the time. So changing them in concert, I think, should line them up, or it will line them up and they'll click together and it won't error as it was before. So that part will work. As far as the like game server, that won't work. Like Homegames, what is it? Homegames Core?
Yeah.
What do we name it now? Homegames
Core?
Homegames. Yeah, okay. Homegames Core won't be on TypeScript and would still be using the version of Squish that isn't TypeScriptified. Does that make sense? Does that what I said make sense?
I guess. I had those other Squish changes, like the rewrite, and I thought we were going to get that in before the TypeScript stuff because we had a bunch of TypeScript stuff for shit I was ripping out. So
I see.
Then
I see. That's why we weren't doing that. Oh, shoot.
But if you can TypeScriptify Squish, TypeScriptify Homegames Web, get those things in such a state where they're working together, and we just don't release that. We just have it in the main branch. And then we get my Squish changes, which I'm currently working on, and we basically rebase that on the TypeScriptified stuff, and it'll be a little bit painful, but we'll get that going. And then we'll have this like half-working TypeScriptified pre-rewritten mess, and then we'll dump it on top of this other stuff I'm working on, and we'll spend the whole January complaining and bitching about combining it, but then we'll get it, and it'll work.
Get it. That's right. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Sorry, I wish that I was logged in on GitHub, and otherwise I'll have to type and this will hear it. But what was I going to say? Getting it to work on Squish, a TypeScript version of Squish shouldn't be hard. And I'm pretty sure your changes weren't breaking to web, if I remember correctly.
No, yeah, you're right. It's just mostly a split of the Squish stuff that was in Homegames Core into Squisher.
Mm-hmm. So with that change in mind, once I'm done with my side of this, where it's web is on TypeScript and a little bit cleaned up, and then Squish is TypeScriptified on this, like what I'm comparing it to, then when you make your changes and we TypeScriptify that, they should click together still just fine because none of your changes were breaking. The breaking change was actually during the TypeScriptification of web. And the breaking changes on there, I don't think were the things that you were changing either. So the breaking changes should still be the same.
Okay, my eyes have started to lose focus. So how about we just push forward with the shit that we're doing independently, and then we'll go through the pain of combining it all, but it'll be okay.
Yes, I think so. My goal is by the next podcast to have this done so that you can look at it and we aren't talking about it in some like crazy this thing and that thing and this thing. It's like, oh, I see what Yazeed was doing.
I don't. Fuck, man. These like packages have become such a mess when we split them all up and stuff. Maybe having a mono repo would have been nice. Anyway, whatever.
Don't do it.
I mean, it would have made everything better.
Yeah, it would have made this part easier. Well, better, I don't know, but easier, yes.
But it would, anyway, I don't want to, whatever. It would have been better.
Well, okay, let me ask you this question. What would be like the primary benefit of being in a mono repo?
We wouldn't have had this scenario where we have 3 separate packages. One depends on, well, they both depend, two of them depend on one in the middle, and we introduced TypeScript in one go at the center thing, and it busted the other 2 pieces because we didn't like update with the right package and test it all in one go, like as one bundle. Whereas if we had everything in like one commit to one repo with one set of changes, and you hit go on one thing, it's like, oh shit, this is fucked. We wouldn't have had that. It would have been just like, oh shit, this is fucked. Yeah. But whatever. We are where we're at. We live the life we live. Complexify.
Would you rather it be in a mono repo though? For that reason specifically?
Well, no. I mean, I'm having trouble thinking of a proper argument, but we've already split up things, and we've already made Squish its own standalone library, which I think is ultimately the biggest thing, is to split out the game engine outside of the games. And we have separate repos for Homegames Web and Homegames Core, because one of them is a pure Node.js server, and the other one is a Node.js server serving static web content for, like, it's a whole different thing. So they should be, ultimately they should be in different things because they're fundamentally different components, and they all kind of fit together in this way. I just think maybe maybe we were too early on splitting them. Maybe we would have gotten more benefits of the mono repo at this point. And then we could have split it out later once we had everything kind of, working together. But whatever. Like I said, we're at where we're at, and I don't think it'll be too crazy because luckily the Homegames web client is kind of its own thing. Squish is kind of its own thing, and the changes that I have for Homegames Core and Squish are kind of, like you said, and mostly independent from the other stuff that you're doing. So I think the hard part will be taking this branch of mine. I'm just being selfish. Taking this branch of mine and thinking of the state that it was in when I originally made the branch, and then kind of just bringing these changes into basically like a redone package at the end of it. It just seems like it could be painful, but whatever. Like I said, I will have a lot of time to do these things and just fucking get it done, because I wake up in the morning sweating sometimes because I don't have what I need to have for home game stuff. So, we'll figure it out.
Oh no.
My morning sweats will be the driving force behind my success.
Our success. That's a famous saying. Yeah. There we go. It's all right. A man is entitled to the sweat from his own sleep or whatever.
Yeah. The sweat from my own night terrors.
Yeah, it should all work. It should all click together. With your changes, I don't think that they'll be breaking. Even if they are breaking, we can always just fix them up and just make sure everything is lockstep. That just leaves out Homegames Core as something that needs to be touched and fixed up. But that can come later.
We're blowing apart the shit we have, finishing the year, and getting shit out, because we've been working on shit for months, and it's like we're stuck on this shit. We're just kind of churning on the same shit. So we need to get through it and then figure out, kind of the next thing after we have a rebundled, repackaged, redone thing. And then next year will very much be like at the beginning of the next year will be kind of gathering what we have and kind of just taking inventory of the state of everything. Because even at this point, I kind of lost the state of everything. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah. So, and then we'll be on good foundation to kind of glue it back together with all those services that I built this year, and kind of get it going.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is that at that point it's going. Like, that's the shit that we need, is like we see what we need. It's just we don't have it yet, and like I said, just gotta fucking just get it through.
We know where the finish line is. We just gotta get there.
Yeah, it feels like like just to quickly reflect on this year. First, just been kind of rough. You know, life is rough. Fucking everybody going through shit, stress, whatever the fuck. Everything's hard. And despite those things, this year has been cool for home games because despite the like I said, the churn and the I don't want to say lack of progress, but kind of like
the hidden progress, and the obvious progress.
The lack of product deliverables is obviously disappointing on some level, but I think we've also decided for me, when I saw the whole publishing flow and I downloaded a game on another thing and I like played it within seconds of the other person publishing it, I was like, okay, this is what I wanted to build this whole fucking time. Like this sharing system that we figured out, kind of, you know, you think of the conversations that we had about just like who's reviewing every fucking piece of code coming through the system. Like that shit's dead because we know at least clearer what that end goal is. And having that end goal and a kind of a, you know, admittedly loose idea of how to get there, but knowing where we're going has been probably the best part of the year for me. And building those services, knowing that when we get this shit going, like we can hook into those services pretty well and have like a good sharing and all that kind of stuff, sharing and playing other people's games, like the infrastructure for that pretty good. So, you know, rough year, but I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be good. Everything will be amazing after all this.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least, I don't know. I kind of have been thinking a lot about like when I end this or when I stop doing this. I don't know. It's just like, it takes up so much of my mental time, like my energy as a person. So I'm just thinking about when this ends. And I really don't see a time where I stop working on this completely, but I do see a time when I stop working on this so much. And I like to think that in the next, or at least working on this so much in the way that I do. And I like to think that in the next year, we'll be in a position where it's not constantly just like, what the fuck are we doing? How do we build this thing? And more just like, here's a feature that we could build. Let's build it at a reasonable pace with reasonable planning and allocation of time and thought process. And, you know, like a fucking...
This man wants sprint planning in my hobby.
And I really don't want sprint planning because I don't think that's very useful. I don't like spending time talking about how much time you think you're going to spend doing something, even though that's kind of like what we do here, but it's kind of, I would hope, a more fun version of it. But I don't know, man. I need a vacation. How about that? I need something. But to me, a vacation is working on this until my eyes can't close, you know, or must close. You ever been so tired that you can't blink? Anyway.
Like it hurts to blink?
No, like, well, I guess maybe like your eyes are just burning constantly, and that rush is keeping you awake. Anyway, you have anything else before we close?
Just describing to me like severe dry eye right now. Like it's like a medical condition. Should I call my brother?
No, I'm fine. That's what. Like I said, that's the shit that drives me. It's the pain in my eyes.
Pain.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess. No, I've never considered anything that hard before. Blinking is the only thing keeping me awake. Maybe in college, honestly, but now as an adult, as like a working person, no.
Yeah. Well, I realized I can't stay up like I used to when I was in school because when I smoked a pork butt overnight for Thanksgiving, and that Thanksgiving I barely remember it. Like I was so fucked from not sleeping. So it's crazy how much 7 years will age you.
True. Yeah. Sleep is good. Sleep will always be good and will continue to get better, I think.
Support sleeping. That's my social stance. You know, it's been taking a long time. I've been keeping my mouth shut, but I'm going to come out in strong support of sleep.
This man supports sleep.
Yeah.
Kill him. Yeah. I don't have anything else really, but sure. I would like to say that you're right that like once all this stuff is done, I do think that things are going to be a lot smoother. It's going to be less like gluing Legos together and more like, or wait, it'll be more like gluing Legos together than building Legos from scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, is we've kind of been on the same page, at least in knowing the general goal and the general structure of the tech stuff. But I think we're at this point, you know, we've kind of seen it where it's like we have two different things and we're literally forced to shove them together. That's what we're talking about doing for the next month. And I think at that point we will be more on the same page than we've ever been, which is going to be a good foundation for kind of going somewhere else with it.
Yeah, I will say also the other thing about going through all of this, going through Squish now multiple times and going through Homegames Web, I've learned a lot about how Homegames actually works in more ways than just making a game did, which I think puts me closer to even footing with you, because I'll be honest, I didn't realize half of the things that were available or like just how they worked even. Like all that stuff, I think that does add up, that does matter, and it does bring you like closer to being on the same page when when everyone working on the project actually has like an understanding firmly of the topic, you know what I mean?
It's partially my fault though. I mean, I should have been more thorough with kind of my introduction, but the way I describe things is like fucking stupid. Like I just jump from thing to thing to thing, and it's like, does that make sense? And yeah, I should have done that. We were just talking about it before we started recording about it's hard to work on a product if you don't know every feature of the product, and it's kind of weird as an engineer to start working on something and think like, oh, well, I got to click around the buttons first to understand it. But no, like you really understand the tasks and you understand the goals and stuff when you super understand the thing. But at that point, it's like we didn't really have a product to show you. It was kind of just like, I don't know, read the code, dumbass. It's like, well, that's not helpful for people, you know. So yeah. I mean, we've been doing this for like 2 years now. We did we're almost at 100 episodes, and we did them every week for a while, you know. So I think our first one was September 2019. So yeah, it's been over 2 years. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Lots of code was written and thrown away. Lots of code was written and redone. I think this would be like the big one.
But this shit is so fun that like the super rewarding feeling of like, holy fuck, that works, and no one else besides us did that. Like, you know, there's some libraries and shit that we use, and yeah, like electricity and computers were invented, you know, but like fucking we did this. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Thomas Edison. You were a real one.
Yeah. So it's a super rewarding feeling. Like this stuff is draining, but I do enjoy it. And I guess I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I need to become an adult and have like a fucking life at some point, and this is not sustainable. So hopefully in the next year or so I can make it more so.
Man, I need to have a life or something. Also, he's married. Okay.
Yeah. Too much life happening in my life.
All right, you ready to close this one out? Do you get anything else?
No, that's all for me. Thank you everybody for listening. As always, our music is done by our friend Tynan. He is Nitan on Bandcamp. That is Nitan, Nytan. You can find us on Twitter at homegames.io. We have a website at homegames.io. You can send us a message on Twitter. You could send us a message on our contact form on the website. You can just silently listen and appreciate us. Do whatever you want. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Or 2 weeks. Shit, I always fucked that up. It's 2 weeks. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
You were good for a while.
I had to run. Bye.